And Nuh alayhi salam did that. So he gathered up all the animals in pairs and he took them on the ark. All the animals came right into the ark in pairs. Nuh alayhi salam asked the believers to board the ark in the name of Allah. The animals came running: giraffes, rhinos, elephants, camels, monkeys, wolves, cats, bears, kangaroos, horses, cows, sheep, and so on. So every kind of animal. There were also chickens, ducks, flamingos, hawks, peacocks, pelicans, ostriches, and hens, to only name a few. So imagine how many there were actually on the ark. Some had wings and some had legs, some crawled and some hopped. All came right into the ark in pairs. Birds, both tiny and big, that flew high above the earth came along too. All were gathered in pairs and led on board. Now think about it. Why the birds would even come? I mean, there's a lot of birds that can fly really up high if they want to get away from something, right? So when we go near birds, what do? They fly away, right? They can fly really up high to really tall skies like buildings. They can do that. But why did these birds have to come on the boat? As soon as all the creatures had come on board and supplies had been stowed away, black clouds began to cover the sky. First, there was a drizzle. So first it started to trickle down, right? Tiny little droplets. Then there was heavy rain. So think of, when we have snowfall here in the wintertime, sometimes it's really, like you can't see anything, you can't go outside. Think of that, but it's raining. So it's raining really hard. It became darker and darker. The whole world seemed to be dark. Strong winds blew from every side, and the water rose in huge waves. So remember the desert? It's not a desert anymore. There's water everywhere now. So all those people that were laughing at Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his people while they were building the ark, think how they're feeling now. Do you think they're laughing now, or are they really scared? With the rain hammering on the roof and a great wind roaring all around, the ark went on sailing amidst the tall waves. Nuh alayhi salam kept on praying to Allah. The rivers overflowed and water fell in torrents. The ark rose and fell on waves as high as mountains. The world was like an enormous sea. So everything, the whole desert is now like a sea. When the flood reached its peak, Allah commanded the rain to stop. The clouds began to part and the ark came to rest on Mount Judi. Nuh alayhi salam and the believers thanked Allah. The Prophet Nuh alayhi salam prayed, Lord, make my landing from this ark be blessed, for you alone can make me land in safety. So if you notice here, sorry, I'll just go back. Now everyone is leaving the ark. So it's okay for everyone to leave the ark, and they're leaving the ark. In this way, Allah made the flood and the ark of Nuh alayhi salam a sign and a warning for people of all time. Okay, so I want you guys to think as well, what kind of warning that Allah had given them, right? What was, when you read these stories, I want you to try to make a connection to our world today, right? So when we're reading stories, you should also say, okay, how can I apply it to something we're doing today? How we live our lives today? And what can we do to make our lives better? Or what can we do things so that Allah will be pleased with us rather than be angry with us? Because Allah was very angry with the people who did not believe, right? So, and then he asked the believers to get on the ark. Not the non-believers didn't want to go on the ark because they just felt like they would be perfectly fine, right? So I want you to think about those things. Now, so that was a little kid's version. I'm going to now dive into the more deep thinking version, if you want to call it that. And I'm going to be asking you guys to, once again, like I did last time, where I'm going to have you close your eyes and really think about, place yourself in their situation, what you would be feeling, what you would be thinking. So this one is from the prophets of Allah. So there's a few stories in here. I'm going to obviously focus on Prophet Nuh alayhi salam today. Okay, so let's go. You guys can kind of follow along. Long, long ago, in the land of Mesopotamia, there was a town of people who lived wild and evil lives. Even though their ancestors had been good Muslims, they no longer believed in Islam. Instead, they prayed to idols which they made themselves. They would decorate wood and stone idols and ask them for everything they desired. For those of you who are not familiar with what idols are, it's basically imagine taking any object and thinking that it has the power to give you what you want. So if I could take this phone, right, and I just look at it and I say, well, I'm going to ask it for something without touching it even. I'm going to pray to it and say, please get me something, give me something. And I will, if I believe that this thing that has no life, nothing in there, it's just an object, me believing that it can give me what I want is going to make this is me worshiping this idol, worshiping something that's just an object. Okay, it can't really give me anything, can it? I can't just look at it and say, oh, I want something. It's not going to do it for me. The chiefs and leaders of the town were very wealthy people. They were rude and arrogant, and they thought of nothing but money. They controlled the town, and the poor people lived in fear of them and their evil ways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was very angry with the wealthy people in the community. He had blessed them with wealth, land, and beautiful houses, but they didn't thank him or share it with the poor people. This was wrong. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to send them a messenger to reach them, to teach them Islam, like their ancestors had been taught. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala felt that the best way to turn the unfaithful people to the goodness of Islam was to send them a person from among themselves. He knew that the people would pay more attention to a person than they knew than to a stranger. And it makes sense, right? You'd rather listen to somebody that you actually know versus someone you have never met before in your life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose a man named Nuh alayhi salam. Now, I want you to think about it this way. It's not like you know, someone just came out of the blue or it's, and they were like, oh, I'm a prophet. No, you go through this whole process. So Nuh alayhi salam, so Allah picked Nuh alayhi salam, let him know that you are the person who's going to take these people on the right path. Okay, so then Allah would basically choose him and then tell him this is your job, this is what you're going to do. Nuh alayhi salam was a very humble and gentle man. He was pious and kind, and he always spoke the truth. He was so trustworthy and wise that people would come to him for advice. His reputation as a truthful and gentle person helped him when he was chosen to be a prophet, and he gained a few followers. Now think about it. He's trustworthy, everyone listens to him, yet he only had a few followers. It's not like everybody believed everything he said. All of his followers were poor people, because the wealthy people were too proud to listen to what Prophet Nuh alayhi salam has to say. So in a way, think about it this way. If somebody has everything that they want, they're not realizing they're asking for it. Allah's giving it to them, but Allah wants them to thank him for it. So they think, well, I'm getting this because this is what I'm doing. I'm just getting it because I can get it. So they will not want to listen to somebody who actually is telling them, you know what, this is because of Allah, so you should thank Allah for this. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam told his people, worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no God but him. Otherwise, I fear that you will see the punishment of a painful day. The chiefs of the people laughed at Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. One of their leaders stepped forth and said, you are nothing but a man like ourselves. We don't see anything special about you. You have only a few followers, and they're the poorest and the lowest from among us. We do not think that you are better than we are. In fact, we think you are a liar. They used to think he was very trustworthy when they liked what he was saying. Now, because they don't like what he's saying, they're calling him a liar. The chiefs thought that just because they had a lot of money, they were better than Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his followers. They used this as an excuse not to believe in Islam. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam said, I have been sent with a message of mercy, but if you refuse to see the truth in it, I cannot force you to accept it. O my people, I do not ask you for your wealth, for my reward will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam made it clear that he did not want the people's money and that neither he nor Allah was impressed by how much money a person had. He told them, I will never turn away a believer who has little money. I will never tell my poor followers that Allah will not reward them. Surely Allah knows best what is in their hearts. I see that you are very ignorant people. The leaders of the town became upset and angry because Prophet Nuh alayhi salam had made a very good point. One of them finally said, Oh Nuh, you have argued with us so many times and we still don't care what you say. We don't believe you. If what you say is true, then bring upon us the punishment you warn us about. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam calmly replied, Only Allah will bring the punishment upon you, and when He does, there will be no escape. None of my advice will help you if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills that you remain ignorant. Allah is your Lord, and to Him you shall return. So whether you accept it or not, Allah is still the one who you're going back to. After some time, Allah revealed to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam that no more people would join them. Allah told him not to worry about those who didn't believe. Instead, he should make plans to build of all things an ark. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his followers knew Allah was wise and powerful.
Hello.
Hi. They knew that Allah only commanded what was good for them, even if they didn't understand. And for Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his followers quickly began working to build the ark. See, sometimes if you read some of the stories, Allah is commanding the prophets to do something, and they just do it, right? Because Allah knows what is going to happen, even though the people don't. So even though I don't know what the future is, but Allah knows what's going to happen. So I have to put my trust in Allah, put my faith in Allah, and just follow the path, right? An example of this, what good thing is when you're with parents, right? Sometimes your parents see you doing something and like, I don't think that's a good idea. You're going to get hurt. Because they know, they've seen it happen before, they've seen somebody do that and they got hurt. So they kind of warn you, I don't think it's a good idea. You're going to get hurt. Because they can kind of see where you're going to end up if you keep doing what you're doing. But you might not see that. And then when you get hurt, you say, oh, I got hurt. Well, we saw that happening. We knew what might happen if you do something, that's not, I'm not going to say dangerous, but it's kind of, you might end up getting hurt doing it, let's say, right? So you want to listen to sometimes to your parents. Obviously, you always want to listen to your parents, but you also want to trust them. When they're asking you to not do something, there might be a reason behind it. And same thing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When He asks us to do something, we have to put our trust in that and do what He says. Building an ark was a big job. An ark was not just an ordinary boat. It was a huge boat. It had to be strong enough to carry everything Allah wanted to put in it. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his people worked hard. They used long wooden planks and nailed them together. They worked for many, many days under the hot sun, which burned like a bright lamp in the middle of the clear desert sky. Remember, they're in the desert. In the middle of the desert, they have to build this really big ark. Sometimes the townsfolk would walk by and make fun of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his people. They would say, you must be crazy to build an ark in the middle of the desert. There is no sea in this area. Do you plan to sail on the sand? Maybe you will pull the ark across the desert? The people would point and laugh at Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his followers. Sometimes they threatened to hurt them. Even Prophet Nuh's wife did not agree with him. And this is very important. Just because you have, because you believe in something, because you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does not mean all the other people in your family will as well, right? That is not, it might not happen. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was patient. He would reply, though you are laughing at us, we are laughing at you in the same manner. You will soon know who will face the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He would then return to building the ark, and he didn't let the people's insults stop him. As they were working, Allah was watching them. By working hard and working together, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his followers soon finished the ark and waited for Allah's command. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have in mind? You've made this ark, now what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Prophet Nuh alayhi salam to gather a male and a female of each type of animal and put them in the boat. He and his followers gathered pairs of all the different kinds of animals that were there. There were giraffes, ostriches, elephants, basically anything they could find. Then the highest company loaded the animals in the ark, pair by pair. Prophet Nuh's followers and their children gathered their belongings and boarded the ark. Now, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his children, except for one son, so that's his wife and his one of his sons, they didn't board the ark, but everybody else did. The sky darkened to black as storm clouds rolled in all over. The clouds seemed to swallow up the light, and thunder began to boom like cannons. So I want you at this point, guys, to close your eyes and kind of imagine all of this happening. Create a little picture, like a little movie in your head. Lightning streaked across the sky like crooked snakes, but when they disappeared, the town was once again under a blanket of darkness. So think about it, it's dark. So I want you to imagine something very, very dark right now. Think of a dark room. People came out of their homes and began wondering why it was going to rain after such a long drought. They would soon find out. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unleashed the storm clouds. Rain came down furiously from the sky. There was so much rain that the ground couldn't absorb it. But it kept pouring, becoming deeper and deeper. Then water started to gush up from the ground. The people were terrified. There was water coming from everywhere. Where could they go? As the water levels rose, a wind developed and powerful waves crashed all around, crushing the houses and trees like toothpicks. Some people ran to the mountains and hills, trying to climb higher than the waves. One of Prophet Nuh's sons was among these people. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam called for him, "O son, come with us and be safe. Do not die with the non-believers." But his son yelled, "I'm going to the top of the mountain. I'll be safe from the water there." Prophet Nuh alayhi salam sadly replied, "Today there is nobody who is safe except for those on whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy." Now I'm going to pause here for just a quick second. Remember when Allah told Nuh alayhi salam to don't stop worrying about the others, like this is it for the believers? It's like almost as if Allah had shut his doors on the son. So even though the son, even the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam really wanted his son to join him, because Allah had kind of shut his doors on the son, saying, you know what, he's not going to believe. It's just not going to happen. His son chose to climb the mountains. Rather, he thought he would be safer up near the mountains rather than believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and joining. Moments later, a giant wave crashed between the two of them, sweeping Prophet Nuh's son away forever. For days, the mighty ark sailed on the swelling waves, which were higher than mountains. The ark was tossed up and down and right and left as it moved across the tumultuous water. I think one of the books I was reading, it was about, I think it was like 150 days that they were actually in the water. I'll actually look for that for you guys after. Actually, maybe I can look for it right now. It was 150 days. So they were actually stranded. So after floating on the water for 150 days, they were stranded at Judy Hill for a month. So think about that. So it wasn't like it was just in a day, done in a day. It wasn't. It took 150 days for them. They were on the water, being tossed around, and then they landed. Though everyone else had drowned, Allah kept Prophet Nuh and his people safe. Then Allah gave his commandment. O earth, swallow up your water. O sky, be clear of clouds. Allah stopped the rain and brought the sun out. The ground swallowed up the water as if there had never been a flood, and the ark came to rest on Mount Judy. And this is where they were stuck for a month. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his brave followers were now safe from the danger of the non-believers. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam cried to Allah, "O Allah, my son is of my family, and now he is dead. Why did you refuse to save him? You are the most just of judges." Allah replied, "O Nuh, he is not a part of your household. He was a person of evil conduct. He refused to see the truth. Do not question my decisions on subjects about which you do not know." And this is once again very important. It didn't make a difference that he was related to Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Prophet Nuh realized what Allah was saying and apologized. "My Lord, I seek refuge in you. I am sorry for asking you about a decision you made. You know better than anyone. If you don't forgive me, I shall be amongst the lost people." And I have a verse related to this that I will share with you guys after. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and told him to lead his followers and the animals up the ark. Down came Prophet Nuh and down came the followers. Then came the animals in pairs. The animals spread across the land. Some went to jungle, some went to the forest, some went to the desert, and some went to the mountains. So they all went back to where they came from. The fish went to the oceans, the sea, and the lakes, while the birds flapped their wings and flew to different parts of the earth. Think once again, the birds could have flown away, or could they have? The water was just so high that nobody was protected. So the birds even went on the ark. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam and his people came down from the mountain in peace. They prayed together without fear of being beaten or ridiculed. They thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for saving them and wept with tears of joy. They knew that now they could start a new life without being bothered by other people. They were free to pray to Allah and live as He wanted to. Through time, Prophet Nuh's followers grew in number. They spread out far and wide across the face of the earth. Many went across the land and many went across water. They built new homes and towns wherever they went. All right, so this was the story of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. I'm going to share with you guys one second here, the dua that is related to this.
Assalamu
Alaikum assalam. So this dua right here, Rabbi inni a'udhu bika an as'alaka ma laysa li bihi ilmun wa illa taghfir li wa tarhamni akum min al khasirin. My Lord, indeed, in you I seek refuge from the sin that I should ask of you, of which I have no knowledge. Unless you forgive me and have mercy on me, I shall be among the lost. So this is related to him asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why didn't you save my son? Right? And Allah told him, well, you don't know you don't ask me about what you don't have any knowledge of. He was among the disbelievers. So then Prophet Nuh alayhi salam is the one then that returned to Allah and said, okay, I'm sorry. Please forgive me because otherwise I'll be among the ones who are lost. So connecting this back to Prophet Yunus alayhi salam last week, even though Prophet Nuh alayhi salam followed Allah's command, waited, right? He waited for Allah to give him the command to build the ark to leave. He didn't just do it because he wanted to. After all of it was said and done, he still questioned Allah. He went back and he said, well, what about my son? Right? But then when Allah told him that you don't know what you're saying, I know what's happening here, you don't. It was Nuh alayhi salam who then apologized to Allah once again, because Nuh alayhi salam knew he was in the wrong. So as humans, if our prophets are the ones, they would profusely apologize to Allah for questioning him. We're just people, right? So we have to also think about the same thing, that we don't need to always question everything. Sometimes you just have to have faith in Allah and believe what his plans are, and just do it, right? And then Allah will help you out. So this I thought was a really good dua to kind of connect to the story here. If you have any questions, feel free to, you can, I think, put the message, like you can message us on the Facebook thing, or I'm not sure if Uruj can join in right now and give options of questions in a way. But that is essentially the session. Yeah. Uruj, is that you?
So anyone who has questions can unmute themselves and ask the question.
Is this every day?
Amida?
No, nothing.
Okay.
She's asking you, is this every day?
This is twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
From
Okay.
11 to
That's what I was
11:30.
telling her. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so walaikum assalam. Thank you so much all for joining in, and thank you once again, Taj. This is a great series, and kids are loving it. Just so you guys know.
I have a question, please.
Sorry?
Where can we get the books in Canada?
I'm not sure where these guys got the books from, but sometimes you can find them on Amazon.ca. They sometimes have some of these books. Sound Vision Canada is another good option, or like when I was the program director at Al Noor, I used to get books from there. Noor Art is an American website, but they have a lot of options there. You do unfortunately have to pay duty, but I'm not sure how things are working now with all the craziness that's out there. But these books are generally available for borrowing at the MIA library. So we do have them here. You can borrow them here. It's just obviously right now it's going to be a little difficult. Yeah. But they are here. We do have them here. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
If you can just write the names where we can get the books from, other than MIA's library. Obviously, you can have access to library, inshallah, as soon as this pandemic and this situation calms down a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining in. We'll see you next week. Also, you can watch Muslim Kids TV at 12:30 today. The link is available on the website.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Jazakallah, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Say bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.